Today, we will tell you a story that happened thousands of years ago. In ancient Rome, when a city fell to the Roman legions, the battle didn't mark the end of the violence. It only changed its form. Once order was imposed and silence fell, the division began. This is the story of what happened next. After the fighting stopped, captured women were gathered in open spaces, watched by soldiers who no longer saw them as enemies or civilians. They were part of the spoils of victory, just another resource. Many suffer their punishment in public, and others suffer a worse punishment. No names were asked. No stories recorded. No one noted their ages or family ties. Rome didn't conquer people. It conquered utility. The prisoners were observed with a methodical coldness. The officers knew exactly what they were looking for, and it wasn't beauty or compassion. It was endurance. But what did Rome do with women who refused to break? Some were separated for domestic tasks in homes they would never leave. Others entered legal circuits controlled by the state. Silent cogs in an economy no one pretended not to know about. And very few set aside for a different reason. Not because their fate would be better, but because it would be more visible. The arena Achillia was one of them. She arrived in Rome after weeks of travel, chained, exhausted, and disoriented. By then, she had already understood there would be no return. Everything that came before, her family, her city, her name, had been left behind. In the administrative records, only one word appeared, written with the same ink used for animals or tools: gladiator. How does a prisoner of war become a public spectacle? Rome didn't train women to demonstrate equality or progress. It did so because they were an inconvenient oddity, and Rome knew how to exploit oddities. Seeing a woman armed, trained to withstand blows and return them, challenged the traditional image of social order. For that exact reason, it drew attention. The public didn't know if it was fascinating, wrong, or disturbing, but they flocked to it. Achillia was sent to Ludus, a gladiator school far removed from the glory the spectators imagined. It wasn't a place of fame. It was a space of absolute control. But what does it take to strip away someone's identity and turn them into a fighter? The days were all the same. Training at dawn, exercises repeated until exhaustion, constant corrections, silence. The goal wasn't to create brilliant fighters. It was to produce resilient bodies. Their diet was meticulously measured, their rest monitored. Human contact was reduced to the bare minimum. Everything was designed to dissolve the individual, leaving only performance. Achillia learned early on that surviving didn't mean improving her situation. It meant prolonging it. Her body wasn't hers. It was an investment that had to last only as long as necessary. Over time, the preparation paid off. Achillia was no longer just a prisoner. She was a trained performer, and the performance demanded a stage. What happens when two women, trained to kill, face each other in the Colosseum? On the day of the fight, the amphitheater filled up earlier than usual. The news had spread. Two women would fight in the arena. For many spectators, this wasn't just entertainment. It was a historical curiosity. The atmosphere was strange. There was anticipation, but also unease. Nervous laughter mingled with attentive silence. Gazes that didn't know where to rest. Achillia appeared, equipped with a helmet, shield, and short sword. Facing her was Amazonia, another woman trained in the same brutal manner. Neither wore symbolic adornments. They were not theatrical figures. They were real combatants. The crowd held its breath, but what they saw next was something no one in Rome expected. The fight began cautiously. There was no rush. Every movement was calculated, every blow measured. The audience followed the fight with an almost uneasy attention, reacting to every advance, every moment when it seemed it could all end. The clash of metal filled the air. The heat was oppressive. Exhaustion was evident, but neither fell. The confrontation dragged on longer than anyone expected. This disrupted the usual rhythm of the spectacle. The crowd began to divide between those who demanded an end and those who wanted to see how long they could endure. The two women had broken the rules of the show, and Rome had to make a choice. When the fight finally stopped, both were still standing. The silence was immediate. For a moment, Rome didn't know how to react. Then came the shouts, the applause, The tension released. The organizer of the spectacle observed the scene and made an unusual decision. Both combatants would be pardoned. The amphitheater erupted. For one afternoon, a prisoner of war was cheered by the Empire. But did this ovation change anything? Did fame finally set her free? The cheers did not change reality. Achillia was not freed. She did not recover her identity or her past. Fame did not grant rights. It only prolonged her value within the system. She continued to belong to others. Her life was still not her own. Over time, women's combat began to generate discomfort among certain sectors of the Roman elite. Not because of its brutality, Rome was accustomed to violence, but because it blurred the social boundaries that upheld their order. Armed women were too visible, too difficult to accept, and when an emperor found them inconvenient, their fate was sealed. Years later, Emperor Septimius Severus officially banned women's wrestling. It wasn't an act of humanity. It was a correction of the system. Women disappeared from the arena, but they didn't disappear from the empire. While a few had fought before thousands of spectators, countless prisoners continued to be absorbed into forced labor, public punishments, and the invisible roles that kept daily Roman life running. They worked without applause, without records, and without names. Rome didn't need to hide its harshness. It was legal. It was public. It was accepted. But what about the woman who had defied it all? Achillia was recorded as a historical anomaly, a name that survived by accident in stone and text. Behind her were thousands of women who were never recorded, lives reduced to functions, stories erased without ceremony. And that was one of the great truths of the Roman Empire. It didn't need to justify its power. It wielded it openly, for all to see. The story of the female gladiators wasn't a tale of empowerment. It was a story of exploitation, repackaged as a woman who left her mark on the history of the most courageous women of ancient history. A brief, spectacular chapter in a much longer, silent history of plunder. Never forget that thousands of years ago, there were thousands of inexplicable events that we will probably never know what became of them. On this channel, we will delve into the most unsettling stories of the past, searching for the hidden truth within them. If you've found this story compelling, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into the forgotten corners of history. Thanks for watching.